Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
This is Mama Thea of Asli Pure, and when I want to hear the story from the lion and the lioness, I listen to Lion Voice with Rasquasi Bonsu.
Greetings, this is Shiloh. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Shiloh said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, Jah people, this is Michael Shamai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Alright, listen to me now, people. The lion roar, no dog bark. See? The lion's voice with Kwasi Bansu. Time right now for the lion to tell his story. See? Listen up.
Amina, the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jah soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up lion's voice. Now put it, I Jalifa said that.
Yeah, now the time has come for the lion to tell his own story. Yeah, the one them called Celestial I represent for the mighty lion voice. And this a shook up your planet tectonic. As me sip up my roots and tectonic. And you can't make me jump nor get panic. Have the engine a run like mechanic. Room.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie the first. Tell the people about him breast many. Well, even if the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, Almighty, I made your light shine and unto I. Your love was a lifeline. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine and unto I. That light was a lifeline. It seems like the world is upside down. I will never hide, I'd rather stand my ground. Lion of Judah blessed with the triple crown. Can't come fool I with no circus clown. Now fear no hurricane or the cyclone. Respect for Mama Earth with that embedded on me bone. That's why I will never leave you alone. Protect you from harm when the alarm sound. So even when the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, to the coming war we stand tall. I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start mal, but they see their city streets them flood, when the hurricane blow down our wall, I'll be by your side and me now but think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine and unto I. Your light was a lifeline. I think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine and unto I. Your love was a lifeline. They say hurt people, maybe that's why Babylon them so evil. Maybe Babylon abused as a child. That's why them no like the light when you smile. That's why them no like how your body curve. The way how you dance get on Babylon nerve. Them no know how the Almighty you serve. Want to be a queen, so a king you deserve. And
what do you have to tell the people about Rastafari?
Light to the world. The King of Kings and the conquering line of the tribe of Judah. I left himself. Where's my ruler? Hey yo! Yeah, hear them high, hear the Black King on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them come without them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill the lion where come conquer Judah tribe.
Who?
Go through tribulation, I and I strive, see sufferation, I and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come if you tell them in a Toronto, straight at it.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of His chosen Queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Chazmaj Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome to Lion Talk Live and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Tonight, we are going into Kingston, Jamaica. We have a report on what's been happening with hurricanes. My phone has been inundated with calls from all over creation, ones wanting to know how we're going to help. I've been talking about the episode, letting the IDM know that when I had solid information, that we will be sharing it. And we are now going to see the power of Rastafari independent, non-aligned media, because long after Jamaica is out of the headlines, we are going to be still bringing voices, because this is going to be years of rebuilding family. It's worse than being reported. Yes, we hear the news, but it is apocalyptic. These are the words that I'm hearing. Like a bomb has gone off, like a nuclear, you know what I mean? Miles you can see, no limbs on the trees. We have a brethren from Kingston who is our guest today, who has driven out into the affected areas. So he's bringing a personal testimony of what he has seen. We still can't get to some of our brethren and sistren in some of those areas. They have limited Wi-Fi connectivity. However, one of the things we want to do with this is counter the narrative that Rastafari is not doing anything, and also to educate the public why Rastafari has to do an independent relief effort in addition to what's being done with the larger country. Big up all of the first responders, all of the ones them who are doing work. However, you know, you bring a care package and it have bully beef and sardines. Some man not gonna eat that, some sister not gonna eat that. You know what I mean? According to the Livity, the vows that they have taken. So we know as Rastafari, special provision has to be made for I and I. We like to sip a certain way. We might need to get certain things. Farms have been wiped out. You know what I mean? A man can't access herbs, and I'm not just talking about the good ganja, I'm talking about all of the different herbs them. We need to connect ones, you know what I mean, cold conditions, you know what I mean, it's still raining in some parts of the island. So we are going to be using Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media as a platform to get the message out there. I'm going to be asking the Lion Pride to contribute. We're going to be sharing a flyer today and a GoFundMe link that has been put up by the RMO. Ones may know also I'm a legal advisor to the RMO through the Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society. So our brethren tonight, he is a part of the RMO Administrative Board. He's also a representative of the International Peacemaker. He's also a member of EWF. He's a Rastafari brethren, does not have locks. And this is why a man can't tell I that you have to have locks to be Rastafari, because I know too many brethren. This is a worker, a couple of years I know him, never meet him personally still, you know what I mean? But it's a joy to have this brethren on the platform. Before I bring the brethren forward, let me just take a moment to acknowledge the growth, the Lion Pride, the international outpouring of love coming from the global Lion Pride. And if you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. We just touched 57,000 subscribers. Now, subscribers in the grand scheme of things is you know what I mean, it don't do much. It don't really put money in our pocket. However, it is an indication that people have seen the content and them say, you know what, I want to see this brethren again. I want to hear this type of interview again. I want to get this kind of information, this content again. So in that way, we still celebrate the subscribers. But the real metric on this platform, YouTube, that we're on is really the watch time, how long people are watching. You'll see the commercials pop up. Give thanks for the patience. That's part of how we monetize here. And then also we have our Lion Pride on Patreon, who right now they are the backbone economically for the entire network. So big up 45 people. We're still trying to get to 50. We're trying to get to 100. We're trying to get to 1,000 in the Patreon. We have to fund our media. And this is why I would love to be able to go to Jamaica to cover some of the relief efforts, or to send correspondents, you know, hire a correspondent who could go out and capture the footage. And, you know, we have that. But we have to fund the media. We cannot continue to think that government is going to do everything for us, or just be in the position of complaining about what we have, what we don't have. Big up the Patreon, because you see how me clean, the image clean tonight is because I'm on a camera I purchased with the support of the Lion Pride on Patreon. So we invest the funds that the item send in, cover all of the costs of the web hosting, the this, the that. all of these platforms that we use have subscription, the Lion Pride and Patreon help. But we want to scale the thing now. We want to hire staff. I tell the keywords of this platform is budget and staff. Big up the RMO that has created a relief plan, and the plan have what? Budget and staff. Any works that we're doing right now as a family have to have those two things included for sustainability. You know, we have to get out of the survival. I was reasoning with a brethren today, and I say the zinc era, it's over. We see now, you know what I mean, we can't build with zinc again. All the zinc roof, them fly off, you know what I mean, and the zinc house, them blow down. So we can't, Elder tell me, say, you know, even in the Three Little Pigs, the pig, you build him house out of brick. So you can't say the lion no smarter than the pig, you know what I mean? In burn out that. So big up the elder who brought that sound to I today, you know what I mean? We are using this as an Inity to unite no petty difference time right now, family. And Jamaica have an opportunity to rebuild better, stronger, to build in an intentional way that, you know what I mean, inspired agribusiness, working farms, production. We're going to talk about all of that tonight because I guess is a brilliant mind. Let me just big up Frontline Books, big up Brother Carl Philpotts, big up Ross Woolley Philpotts, Wally Kings, Graphic and Design, big up all of the sponsors, CMAS Life, Ramia King Design, every Rastafari business that has sponsored the channel, that continues to put faith in the vision that we can have our own media, we can have our own True Spital, Trueberry, you know what I mean? We can have our health centers, sovereign, more than just a talk. Big up everyone who is investing their capital for a vision of a strong, independent, sovereign Rastafari globally. You know what I mean? I have nothing but gratitude. We're going to continue to work, do what we have to do to make this thing manifest. All right, housekeeping out of the way. Please, Lion Pride family, help I to welcome. Okay, tonight my queen is have some other work, so I'm producer tonight. So I do have my queen. So if you see any mistakes, you know, say I'm me do it. Yeah, I mean, it's I do it. So let me take my time and introduce our guest for the evening. Again, he's a representative of the International Peacemaker, the great Claudius Henry, one of our great Rastafari leaders in the early days. International Peacemaker, if you don't know, you have to know. Also, he's a member of the EWF. He's on the administrative board of the RMO. And he's just a brethren that is doing mighty works. Help I to welcome the great Bongo James. Aile. Let me hear. Hold on. You're muted. Hold on, Bongo James. Okay, they are muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Greetings, you hear me now?
Yeah, bingy. Yes, Bongo James.
As is. Greetings, everyone on the platform.
Yeah. Give thanks, Bongo James. It's such a joy to see the eye. I see the eye still at the office. This is a working brethren, you know what I mean? What a great example. Before we get into the hurricane vibration, we want to know a little bit about the eye. I'm going to have to ask the eye to step into the Lion Pride time machine, you know, the Lion Talk time machine, and take us to your birth and where you come from and who you is, Bongo James, please.
Well, first I must give thanks, greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie, Rastafari, you know, our God and our King, the one who has come in to save I and I in this Iowa, you know, of whom I work both with and for, because He has truly given us the light and has restored us from being just chattel to our full humanity as African descendants. And it is this sincerity that I've discovered in my journey, spirituality, that has caused in my gratitude to see how best I can forward his vision, because the level of sincerity that I see in his actions and in his desire to see us develop as a people is par excellence. I don't see any other leader that has our features that have that level of sincerity, and that is what drives me personally to want to see that his vision come to light. The age protected, the infants cared for, the sick nourished. These are things that when you truly understand it, and the least we can do is to forward this vision, integrity and the determination and the intentionality. So that is the basis by which I personally do the work that where I give my skill over
Yes.
to seeing that his vision is manifested. Because it is good for us and it's also good for the world. Not what he has done for us will reverberate through the entire world. So it is a win-win situation for all if we focus on what he has given us and the legacy that he has left for us. That if
Yes.
we really apply intentional thinking, to see it through, the underworld will benefit from that perspective.
Talk up a little bit louder, Bongo James, but I hear you. But where you come from, Bongo James? Where you come from? Where you born? Where you grow?
Wow. Well, I was born in Kingston, the Jubilee Hospital in 1971, August the 21st,
Okay.
3 o'clock in the morning, and grew up. We were basically in Winnie Park for the first 7 years
Okay.
of my life, and then went to Portmore and been there ever since. Yeah, a person who is constantly evaluating, thinking. First I started out as someone who just wanted to be a self-made person. Wants to be somebody who uses their mind in an intellectual way, and I always want to be a person who is fair and a man who is a man of his word. That is how I started out.
Okay.
But, spiritual reality is like that was enough. I had to have a spiritual rebirth. So a crisis
Yes.
did develop within me in terms of
Where
wanting,
did you go to high
that
school? Where you went to high school?
yes, St. George's, St. George's,
Okay,
St. George's
George's
College.
man.
Yeah,
All right. Continue. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So went to St. George's, went to CAS, and it was CAS at the time after I left school and started my job in government, Ministry of Finance, and sent myself through school at CAS, um, and continued, developing my career and so on. But at the same time, always looking, to redefine myself or at least analyze, who am I? What is my purpose? That is something that always dogs me in terms of my spirit. Even though I'm accomplishing a lot, so on, I still felt that there was something missing in my life. And I say, even though I was, doing moral things, still there was an emptiness or a crisis took place, and that's when I, got in my spiritual valley. But even then, the Almighty had, plans for me, because even as I'm going through my spiritual walk, I met barriers. I was in church,
Okay.
so I
Yes.
used to, but, yeah, so my mom was a apostolic type Jesus
Okay.
only type of church thing. So
Serious.
they used to beat me for God church, and so on. But it did
Yes.
help me in the end, at 25, when my moralistic life became a crisis where it was just not enough anymore.
Yes, because Dwayne Park can get sticky around there. I know is an area where there can be temptation. I don't know if they grew up. I know your first 7 years were there, but it's very easy to stray. You know what I mean? So the fact that you stayed on the narrow path is a testament to whatever teaching you were getting at home. You know?
Yes, my mom was quite yeah, would want to say a disciplinarian, yes, but she was very loving. But it was a love that that was so real that I mean, when this time for me to get beaten, I would carry the belt for you are. Yeah, because I have never doubted her love, even when she was beaten. I never
Okay.
doubted her
Okay.
love. So that's
Did
a
you,
loyalty to her, because of how she has imparted wisdom, imparted anciency to me, within her spirituality. She was inherently African, even though she might not recognize it, but she was, one that was deeply connected. Looking at her now, she was truly connected, she was a really grounded person, and
yes, yes.
I think that filtered into me and subliminally developed, where I was sleepwalking through my process, but when the time came, like the Almighty just said, all right, time to come in, time to come into Rastafari. So my first stint with Rastafari was in 2003. That was
Okay.
my first stint. To my aunt. My aunt is fully Rastafari. She's from Tel Tribe, Evil. She is fully.
Okay.
And my grandmother is also from Rocky Point. She's also Rastafari. She was one who helped build International Peacemakers Association. She was one of the
Okay.
followers.
So that's the connection to the peacemaker. I was gonna ask
Right.
how the connection with the peacemaker. Yes.
Yes, yes. In fact, on our land was considered the place that Reverend did want to build the church, but there were family members who were not of the Rastafari faith, they're more in the petty bourgeoisie thing, so it shifted between us. My ground at Rocky Point was a first consideration for peacemakers coming out of Kemsil in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
the connection
for
is there.
for the global family, please just give a history of who Dr. Claudius Henry is and what is the International Peacemakers. Because people know Naya Bingi, they know 12 Tribe, they know Bobo Shanti, but a lot of people don't know about the International Peacemakers, which is one of our foundation, you could call mansion in Jamaica. Please give that history.
Well, the Reverend Claudius Henry, first and foremost, was a prophet, and not necessarily just from an utterance standpoint. He was somebody who was inundated with vision. So if the Almighty give him a vision, if he ignores it, he get almost immediate consequence. It's like that with him. So when he's born in Clarendon, he then went to Christiana, where he was a part of the Anglican Church, and he began to have misgivings, but he wasn't sure what was happening. It's almost like me, he's asking questions and he's not getting answers. Instead, he's being told that he's well against the status quo and it's a dangerous place he's going in his questioning in spirituality and just the religious order that we're seeing that he believed was not really helping the larger congregation, but was more exploiting them in a in a very subtle but significant way. So I mean, he went off to Harlem, and he was in Harlem at one time because he and Marcus Garvey, were interacting, in Harlem. It was
Okay.
during the
I didn't
Renaissance.
know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
yeah, man.
that.
Yes. Sister Edna is a staunch Garveyite, staunch Garveyite. So even with the bloodline part, I shouldn't have said this word. Bloodline part that I come in now is that my Reverend married my bloodline grand aunt from St. Elizabeth,
Okay.
of which Ronald Henry now came forth. So I am bloodline connected to Ronald Henry, his son,
Okay.
the infamous son, who died saying that I, give him life to the philosophy of Marcus Garvey. That was his last word. He was being hung down by Spanish stone. So
Okay.
he was a revolutionary. The, uh, the they called him the insurrectionist. It wasn't really an insurrection. He came to free his father because his father, he believed, was unjustly incarcerated, and he being a soldier coming out of the Korean War, a lieutenant at that, U.S. lieutenant, he decided that he's gonna break out his father because he knew that it was an unfair judgment. They were trying to shut him down because Reverend was leaning towards Rastafari. Well, I should say that when he was in Harlem, the vision came to him that he must go back to Jamaica and go to the Rastafarian and you know start to unite them and so on. And he was very afraid because the Rastafarians, they wouldn't listen to him, but the vision kept coming at him till he just got up, with crying and so on, and left and come to Jamaica. That's where he met Sister Edna and, down by Success Club and Rosalie Avenue and,
What
rest.
year did he return to Jamaica? Just to put some timeline on it.
Um, it was little after 1955, I believe, that I
Okay.
would want the one. So yeah, it was about that time, and things just accelerated. When he came, it's like he was just ushered in, because he wanted to continue with the same type of preaching as a reverend, but fate would have it that when he went to Kemsil, the residue of um Howell Pinnacle, the scattering, a lot of them who went to Clarendon end up with him at Kemsil, and with that, the whole self-reliance energy from Pinnacle began to transform Reverend as well. Reverend now began to be taken in by Howell's doctrine, and that is how Reverend recognized that the true Christ for Jamaica is His Imperial Majesty. He got that
Okay.
energy from Leonard Howell, and began to implement a self-reliance program for repatriation because we now recognize by evidence his passport that he had a visa to Ethiopia in
Okay.
1958. So what's through my own research and my own going around and trying to discover, because I believe that I'm driven. Something is just making me move in a particular direction. And what I've discovered is that it would appear that Reverend went to Ethiopia, spoke with the emperor. The emperor gave him marching orders in relation to repatriation, and he came back in
Okay.
1950. Yeah, came back in 1958, and that is when he had this big conference downtown in in Sir William Grandpa with Prince Emmanuel at the time. And it was a huge conference. In fact, it was mentioned in the Rastafari report of 1960. And I think that was the watershed because, you know,
That was the
they thought.
convention where they got beaten. They
Huh?
were attacked. They were attacked at that
They were,
convention.
yes, they were attacked at that convention, yes.
Prince
And that is
Emmanuel
where
was almost killed. Yeah, he was
yeah,
almost killed at that time, yes.
yeah, yeah. And
Very famous.
yeah. So it is him and Prince Emmanuel that had um, um, inaugurated that famous 1958 conference. But it made him a marksman, and as a result, them tried to infiltrate the organization, plan things that he wanted with Cuba and with had an agent there to try and make it appear as if he was in cahoots with Castro to forward the revolution here in Jamaica. And it is with those trumped up evidence that was, placed in legal there by an internal informant that they used as evidence to say that he was a treasonous person. So they charged him with felony treason. But it was really the churches that were in fear that he was outwardly, he appeared completely ecumenical because he was a reverend, but he was preaching Rastafari in straight and in convincing tones. Persons were really beginning to see what he was saying and were being converted, and he hence represented a threat to the establishment from that standpoint. And as a result, them cope with this thing, and in 1960 he was charged with felony treason, 10-year sentence. But I believe it had everything to do with his arrangement with His Imperial Majesty for the Back to Africa movement, because he was the one that came up with this Back to Africa movement where he printed various, passport type ticket, for 20,000 people to actually go back to Africa. And people might think that it was a pipe dream, but he was taking it from the model of the endangered workers of India, whereby those who don't want to stay, ships were sent from England for them to take them past Cape of Good Hope of Africa and go right to Calcutta. So he was modeling that same thing, that he said there's 20,000 disenfranchised persons who can be fodder for rebellion because of the frustration of the wage, and they might get little or nothing to the effort and clean fields and so on. So rather than have them be fodder for bullets, they will make them go somewhere else where them can even have a fighting chance, in Africa. So give us the ships, because 1954 was the last set of ships at the same time when they were having the ganja raid at Pippin. So it's the last ship was leaving with the Indian indentured workers. So you say if you can do it for the Indian indentured workers, then clearly you can do it for 20,000 the disenfranchised African descendant people. No, he wrote letters. It would appear to to England, to the Queen, to whatever to say. There was some ships that we can send these people to Africa, back to Africa, so never happened. I mean, they pet the letters, but them just signal that, no, or, ignore it. Him write, but no response. Instead, him got imprisoned for felony treason, but a 10-year sentence. That is when his son, Ronald Henry, came into the picture, because he saw that, in 1961, he came and, the whole insurrection thing started, you know. The confrontation became kinetic. You know, regiments from England was sent, 1,000 man regiment was sent, you know, white soldiers to hunt him down in the Warwick Hills, him and the rest of, you know, him and the rest of the followers, because Ronald Henry also had an Africa core. He was building an Africa core because Angola was a place where conflict was taking place, and in that racist South Africa was using mercenaries to try and push northward to capture those states under an apartheid regime. Ronald was, as a soldier, he was helping to train ones who would go to Angola, you know, and assist in this done for apartheid spreading.
And I just learned from one of our elders, I think Jaboni, who is also online on YouTube, went to fight in Africa. So there were Jamaicans that actually went to fight in South Africa with
fight and died.
Yes, and died. Yes, so that history is not well known. I think another reason that Dr. Claudius Henry was attacked, and I want your reason on this, was the economic model. Because he had a thriving economic model with the bakery. Speak about the economics of the International Peacemaker.
So in the first part, it wasn't, as I said, the timeline is that there was an ganja raid on Pinnacle, 1954.
Yes.
Then there was liquidation, 1957. The conference was 1958. The arrest was 1960. Tenure. His Imperial Majesty came 1966. His Reverend was freed the year later, 1967. He then come out and said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." So out of that knowledge, he then now said, so he then started something at Kemsil because, you know, he was out of commission for 6 years, being for 6 to 7 years. So he had to restart. So him start a church in Kemsil there. Liquidation now takes place in the final liquidation for Pinnacle was 1957. So the scattered ones who went to Clarendon found refuge with him. That is when now the knowledge of Pinnacle's self-reliance begin to be induced, because he was just preaching as a normal preacher. That's what he was doing. It was a normal, like, you know, Jesus preaching or whatever. It is these ones that came from Pinnacle as the scattered, that integrated with him at Kempsale and begin to impart knowledge to him, that made him now become bakery, self-reliant thing, and now they said, "Boy, we need a bigger space to express this thing." Because it's almost like he became converted. Now he realized fully now that this is, you know, so even though he was, you know, with Rastafari and so on, it was when these brethren came that everything consolidated now into the full economic model that we see of self-reliance, because he wanted to just do the repatriation thing by just moving the people them out, but over time he realized the repatriation was also preparation. So that is where him now at Greenbottom now decides, listen, we have to build a government with them. We have to practice what we're going to do from here, what we're going to do over there. And that is why he built out the entire vision plan that I now come to realize through the technical report that I have gotten about His Imperial Majesty's overture of resettlement, that it was the exact same blueprint. Because when you go to Peacemaker, you see the university part, you see the bakery, you see the farming, you see everything, the agriculture. When you read the technical report, and you see the archaeological artifacts of how the place set up, it was the repatriation plan of His Imperial Majesty that this man was trying to do.
Aye. And
Everything.
This is why I think we have a tremendous opportunity with Hurricane Melissa, which we are going to talk about, because it has wiped out a lot of our Rastafari sites, but it gives us an opportunity to rebuild according to the repatriation plan, to refocus our energy according to this plan. And this is one of the things that I want to just pivot. I'm going to play a little video here just to set the palette. We just want to set the palette here so that one can see the devastation. This was video that was taken. It's a short video, but just to see like a war zone.
Yes.
That has taken place. What was that footage showing?
Well, that was Ras Aigi that had sent that footage because he was in the middle of the storm. So he sent the aftermath so that we could see both his house and, you know, the devastation that was around. That was what, because when I wanted to reach to him, night came down on me before I could reach to him when I reached to Montego Bay, because being that there's no light in Montego Bay, none of the stoplights are working, so the traffic was just, you know, inch to inch, you know, because everybody is trying to get through these various crossways that is in the middle of the town, and as a result, you know, it was just gridlock until nightfall, you know, and then compounding it was rain. But anyway, we can get to that part. But yes, and when I went there, I said car on top of car turned over same way. So the storm damage was there. There was I'm happy that the rain didn't start falling before, because the rain was so huge. I mean, this is post storm, but there was a moment where I had to wind down the window just to see outside where I'm going, and the water that came in literally soaked. I mean, just for 3 seconds, soaked me. So they're still inundated with rain, same way, even though storm. And this rain, not tonight, is like the drops are some big marble. You know, then you're wet in 0 seconds. You know, that's the type of. So the side of the roads are dug out. And I say, my goodness, if this rain ever fall, I would know that there are dugout areas. My car that could have easily fallen on them, the ditch there, if any of them those places were filled up with water and so on. Yes, I don't want to overuse the word, but it's, you know. Yes, go ahead.
No. Tell us, for our international family, they've been watching the news, they've been seeing the headlines, Jamaica, most powerful hurricane. You're in Kingston. Kingston was spared for the most part, but some people still had minor damage. But just explain to the global family, let's bring them up to speed of what happened with Hurricane Melissa. And then we're going to talk about your what the eye has seen personally, and then we'll talk about some of the solutions and then and also the opportunities. So let's just start by setting the table. What was Hurricane Melissa? What was that experience like? What did it do to the island?
Well, to be honest, based off what I have seen in the aftermath, I think someone who has been through it is the best person, because I really wouldn't want to speak in a cartoonish way as to what they had experienced in reality. So I would prefer and would even ask kindly that you really get somebody like a Ras Aigi or even an earthquake or who have been in it to tell that part of the story. I can only at best speculate, but I can tell you, as I was driving, I saw full, almost let's say green pine wood light posts break like a twig. Me not talk about root out, break like a twig in the middle. I mean, wind that literally broke. I mean, me not see no rats, no nothing. I mean, just the nice, clean pine or the nice, clear, brown and pretty, and yet still in its middle because it was probably foundation properly. The wind couldn't take it out of the foundation, but instead it broke it like a twig. I mean, when I saw that, I said, my God, that is a telltale sign of something monstrous. For a light post to break in the middle like a matches stick, let me could have recognized as even as with the untrained eye that this is no mean harm that has impacted
Wow.
the people. And yeah, there was just this this anonymousness, but I must say that the people, you do feel a bounce back, like the people are not allowing the knockdown to keep them down. So you see people, even as I'm driving, you see people working to improve their position. So, you see the fight back. This is not a people that has laid down and died. These persons are fighting and clawing back their country back to life. That is what I saw. I felt that energy, even as I didn't feel an overwhelming sense of despair. I felt a fight back, but nonetheless, as in any good soldier, without ammunition, victory is tenuous at best. So what these people need is the ammunition to keep that fight, to claw
Keep
back
the
their
fight.
country. Yeah. So they need ammunition, they need support, to really fight the battle. They are willing to fight the battle, but they need the support to clinch that victory,
So,
So
Kingston wasn't impacted where you were. Did you feel any
right.
effects of the storm?
Only rain, it was tropical storm activity, but not anything that I remember in Gilbert, because I am also a product of Gilbert, and I remember the howling and the haunting wind. I will never forget the sound, because the wind have a certain sound, and I was bracing myself to hear that sound again, and I didn't hear it. There's a
Okay.
particular sound that a hurricane has. It's a very haunting sound. I mean, at the risk of being over dramatic, I was 16 years old at the time, and I can tell you the sound. I remember hearing it like it's whisper, it's like I'm coming to get you. It has this sound like I'm coming to get you. I'm
Wow.
coming to
Wow.
you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a haunting, almost silent sound. Very threatening, and it really, the sound has a way of, it's very subtle, but it gets into your brain. I can't explain it another way. It was a haunting sound that says, I'm coming for you. I'm coming to get
Wow.
you,
That was
and
Wild Gilbert. And then now,
yeah, that
in
was
terms
Gilbert.
of
Yeah.
in terms of this, no howling. It was just rain in Kingston. What is Kingston like now? Is it like back? Is it forward to normal? See in Kingston?
More, yes, yeah. What has happened is that trees fell in people's yard, because even the chairman of Peacemakers, a tree fell in his yard, so he had to get chainsaw. So there's trees falling, signs get hit down, signs that may not necessarily be sturdy, they get bent and so on, but nothing that is consequential in comparison to what has happened to the West. The borderline, Clarendon, you know, where peacekeepers is, and so on. You know, up to that point,
So
yeah, yes, go
let the
ahead.
global family know what were the affected parishes. What parishes were hit the worst?
So the parish that was hit the worst was Saint Elizabeth, because Hopewell, that is where the eye wall landed and just, you know, became the nightmare. Um, the effect that I can describe, if I'm to put what I'm seeing, not necessarily from my eye, but based off the camera footages and so on, because in the aftermath, the whole place just looked brown. There was just this brown look that gave the sense that the trees were either burnt or so stripped, but there's something that looks machined. That it seems like the eye wall was this machine and it contained lightning within the eye wall itself, and hence you have this energy weapon type thing configuration that just literally stripped the land bare, you know, of no leaves, none of them. So you, as far as I can see, just look brown and desolate, almost like it's a desert that you're looking on. So I
Wow,
mean,
wow.
trees have been flattened, you know, that that river is no more. I call it Jamaica's Hiroshima. That is what I call it. Hiroshima.
Wow.
If you can, and in fact, I was even going to appeal to the Emperor of Japan to say, your brother, His Imperial Majesty, you know, you have knowledge in terms of recovery from a nuclear apocalypse. And what I'm seeing is in tandem with a nuclear apocalypse. And hence, the knowledge as of a recovery, definitely Japan has that knowledge, you know, and would be much suited to come and help us, you know, because that knowledge is specific. This is in the region of a nuclear catastrophe. It's just that you don't have the fallout and the black rain and fires and so on. But in terms of its blast power, it is nuclear in proportion. You know, based off what
And the
we're
key is
seeing.
that Saint Elizabeth is also the bread basket of Jamaica. So when you say that everything is bare and the farms have been destroyed, this is only the beginning of the crisis, and this is what we want the
Right,
family to overstand.
right,
The
right, right.
farmers,
It
there's
it
going to
it
be
it it
food
it, it,
shortage.
it, it will propagate in the, as with any cataclysm or cataclysmic event. There's always this series of reverberations that manifest itself in different ways. So even with the nuclear attack at Hiroshima, you know, after the blast, then you have the black rain, and after the black rain, you have the radiation contamination. You know, so there's just this carryover that keeps rippling through. So famine now is definitely will be on the horizon, to the point that when I reach um pinnacle, once they could understand that if they don't put seeds in the ground, cabbage, lettuce in the ground, no, you know, they will be facing real starvation in the very near future, because you cannot distribute enough. There's no amount of trucks. There's no amount of water that can be trucked. There's no amount of that will cover the entire region. We just don't have that level of resource to reach everyone on a daily basis for their daily subsistence. you know, and that is why the government is probably trying to urge that some sort of, you know, pound square markets begin so that goods can come in, so that some amount of market exchange can go and take place, even though there's no infrastructure, there's an open market type thing, because that's the only way. Market is the best way in which you can distribute goods and services as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And then the government recognize that, you know, some sort of mobile market system is going to be needed in order to ensure that people who have the wherewithal at least can get the goods and can share it, you know, and so on, but at least get the market economic system up and running so that goods can be efficiently distributed in the various quarters, you know, which is very critical at this certain point in time, you know. So when I went to Pete 4, they started putting seeds in the ground to the point that when rain was falling, they said we are happy Bongo James because the little water will cause them to sprout from now. So by December, January, food will be there where we can harvest and go and eat because they see it coming. Because there's a situation where you can have dollars, but you not have no produce. So you can't eat money, you know. Is why you come out of the ground, you can't eat. So, you know, they have realized it. Youthful ones who are still there in the pitch darkness, they tell me, well, James, they watch the ground, you know, because without the ground coming up with the food, you know, but why would they feel hungry? They're going to die of
Serious
starvation.
thing. And we've been talking about food sovereignty here. So I hope the global family see the importance of food. And it was actually Bongo James's first person I hear say, if you cannot feed the people, you cannot free the people. And Bongo James, I first hear with that, you know. But we've been talking about this conversation, and it becomes so real now that we need a sovereign food system. And on this channel, we are championing food sovereignty, both black food sovereignty and Rastafari food sovereignty, because as I said in my intro, you know, people are, you know, the government has their care packages, but it might be bully beef and mackerel, tin mackerel. And a lot of are ital and we don't eat that. The next concern, I reason with some Rastafari farmers on the ground, and they say any food that is being put in the ground right now by the mainstream people is going to be full of fertilizer, glyphosate, all of these things, because they want to make sure they get the food fast. You know what I mean? So it's poison food that the general ones them mostly are going to be in these markets. So we have to have our own ITAL farms up and running. And this is part of the RMO, I know, has created a comprehensive plan. And part of that plan is mapping and assessment, including farms owned by Rastafari people, so that work days can be organized to help these farmers to clear their land and get their farms up and running. So we have a short-term, mid-term, long-term plan. But one of the things that Bongo James and the I has really taken a lead is the mapping. And I want the I to talk about how critical, because this was something as an administrative board, I know RMO has been talking about for a couple of years now, and some efforts have been made at different events to create a database of our different Rastafari ones, where they are, what their needs are, their skills, you know, I mean, creating some kind of directory. But talk to us, Bongo James, since the I has been one of the ones that has taken a lead, the importance of mapping and assessment for any people, sovereign people.
Right. So I must say that, you know, in a way, I have to apologize to the Rastafarian community for seeing but not citing up what the Almighty has been trying to say to us, but we just seem to be sleepwalking through His word. And it took Melissa to let me realize that organization is the natural outcome after a cataclysm. When I look back in civilization, civilization never just comes so. Civilization come because there was a cataclysm and the survivors come together and say, listen, we have to prepare for the next one by organizing and centralizing, by coming together and working together, because if we don't, we are not going to build the necessary, not just self-reliance, but self-resilience to protect ourselves next time around. That's what Melissa did for me. It brought clarity to say that is why you organize. That is why you have memberships. That is why you need to know where your members are. That's why you need to know even the health situation of your members. If they're taking medication, if they're this, they're that. How much families, how much person in them household. You need that knowledge. Why? Because 72 hours after any disaster, cataclysm or otherwise, knowing where your people are is the greatest commodity that you really have. To really show the purpose of them sacrifice, the purpose of them dues, the purpose of them giving them time to the organization, development, and so on. They have invested all of this so that when disaster comes, they have an organization that can respond to their needs. But guess what? That organization don't even know where you live, don't even know which family you have, can't give an account so that they can at least, if they don't even have the resource to come to your rescue, they can point rescue. So you are find people for point rescue, point them to your rescue, then that organization is a parasite living off you, but it cannot respond on your behalf. It's not a covering, it's a house made of sand, it's a house made of not set on any foundation to help you. In other words, nobody should work to live in a dry weather house. Everybody should work to have a house that will protect them, and even the Almighty, in the form of the Negos, says storms will never stop. He say, whosoever listen to me and do what me say will be like a man who built his house upon sand. And when the rains descend and the floods came and the wind blew it down. But whosoever listen and do what me say, it shall build his house upon a rock. So even the Almighty tell you, say, storms will always come. But I am giving you instruction as to how to be self-resilient, so that when it come, it can beat upon that house, the storm, and it fell not, because it was based upon a rock. So not building resilience, not having resilience as the core motivation for organization building is an organization building upon sand. Because you're not going to be able to convince members who may be skeptical about giving information why people say, listen, weigh the risks. If we don't know where we are, how can we come to your risk as an organization? And this type of resonance is what we need to know. Because that's why I have to apologize, because I never have the self-resilience component. I have the self-reliance component, but not the self-resilience. That is the error. That was the fault line. Now that I understand that centerpiece, that keystone, I know that I must build self-reliance around self-resilience. Hence, can now purport the importance of organizational structures within Rastafari, not just for something to admire, but to be able to respond in times like these, which is right now upon us at this present point in time. And that's why I have to ask for forgiveness, because God had to send a storm for me to see, or for us to see, why we should be organizing and centralizing. Should be, because I've been repeating it, I've been saying it, I've been, it's
You're
unfortunate.
being so diplomatic, Bongo James. We were not ready. You know what I mean? That is what we have to emphasize as Rastafari, the lone lion, the lone lioness. As you said, the self-reliance, it irie to have that ability, but that is not the way to face crisis and to survive in times of peril. And we are now feeling the impact because several people, we still don't identify where they are. I know the Naya Bingios have started doing mapping. I know most of the mansions are reaching out, but it's not a formalized, it's not a centralized database for us to know where the
Correct.
ones them are. And we give thanks that it's happening now. And I was reading with Bongo James, and we know a lot of I and I skeptical for give information. But what I was telling Bongo James is that if you have a smartphone and you are trying to hide from CIA, you're doing a very bad job, my brother, because anyone who have a smartphone, the intelligence agencies know where you're there. So the only people that we hide from is ourselves when we don't share
I
our
agree.
information. The governments, them know where you are from you are using any form of technology. The government know where you are. So this kind of mentality say we are hide, but you stream on your phone all day. You don't understand how technology work, my brother. So we have to get rid of these false concepts and know that, and not just for disaster, but also a directory so that we can circulate our dollar. If I need a Rastafari plumber, where do I go to find that?
I think you're muted, Raspas, you're not hearing.
Right?
I agree.
Yes. I mean, I can know if I need a plumber. You know what I mean? We need a directory. We need to know who are the Rastafari brick makers. You know what I mean? Block makers. Who can lay block, who can dig
But
foundation.
I would say, I pray that is exactly what self-resilience. You see, once self-resilience becomes the factor, then this competitiveness in which we don't want to see the brother prosper melts away, because if your house get blown down and my house get blown down, then we are all equal right there. So you understand, because clearly we did not build for each other in a way that we can survive something that is bigger than I and I. So it's when we get to understand, say, listen, we're not helping each other because of tokenism. It's because we know another Melissa may very well be on the horizon to come. And if we not get our act together in a very serious way, I mean, just use the word act, but the type of word would be much more visceral, then we are going to
Yes.
face this thing again. So it is
Yes.
understanding that we live between cataclysms is really what has caused civilizations to flourish. Civilization refers because they recognize that preparing is what makes the ongoing concern make sense of meaning. You understand? And even if the cataclysms don't happen in your lifetime, you try and give your children enough information and reality so that they can catch it, and in so doing continue the progress of development in the face of potential disaster, and being able to have the resilience. Because I can tell you, suppose we as Rastafari decide, say, we are going to start build things all in a cave, in a stone, so that we go to some cave and make sure, say, if things are going to happen, we have a place we can put the most expensive assets in there and lock it down so that after the storm pass, we don't have to have I pick them up all over the place because they're scattered by it. We have storm shelters, or we have storm mountains where we put the things them into at every parish, so that if storm come, we know we just pack them up and drive them in. Finish, we can drive them back out and pick them up back in no time. Just like even and in terms of our agriculture, when I see the banana farmer cutting off the parachute leaves off the banana trees, right now it can go right back within a month or two, or even less the leaves them grow back, but them fruit will come out same way. You understand what I mean? Crop when come out same way after a
I
hurricane.
saw that footage. I saw that footage. What Bongo James is talking about, there was a farmer in St. Thomas before Melissa came. He cut all of the leaves off of the trees, just leave the stem. And after the storm passed, all of the trees them stand up same way, you know, because the storm didn't have the leaves to create that leverage to blow down. So as Bongo
Only
James said,
only self-resilience could have given him that idea. Self-reliance alone would not give him that idea. But wanting to be resilient, which means that I want to know how I can survive a storm and still come out strong at the other end. That thought process is, once we become systematic in our thinking to say, I want to know how to survive a cat fight. I'm putting that as a challenge. How? Look at my business model, look at my situation. How can I make this survive a cat fight? How can I make sure that my vital organs within my organization is protected, even up to a cat fight situation? Then you're gonna start thinking about underground. Then you're gonna start thinking about more. Now you understand why Babylon dig up the earth the way they do, go into mountains the way they do, because they understand self-resilience. They understand it. And then they build accordingly. And that is why they have survived. Because they understand the importance of having resilience at the core of the conversation in relation to organizational adaptability and motivation, or the organizational motivation. Organizational motivation that is authentic is one where I want to be able to respond to my membership in any disaster that may come that involves detriment to my members, whether they're losing house or whatever. I want people to can even make back their house. You know, I want people to do that as an organization. I want people to be the first to respond to them, the first to all bring water, bring this, bring that. Why? Because I'm paying them dues. Why? Because we know that we live between cataclysms and ends. We will not earn our salt as the administrators of an organization who don't have this clear understanding that organization is about building resilience through self-reliance so that our membership can have a good quality life. Right now, for the first time in a long time, Jamaica have a high homelessness population. You know, a high homelessness population. And what is homelessness? It's one of the lowest type of livity. Your standard of living has tanked. The very thing that is imperative speaks about so much about improving the standard of living is when you don't have a house the way you know that you want to have a house. I don't mean say you can't make a touch house and whatever. I know how we as Rastafari we can live and we're good. But if we are to think about, the general populace, we being the angels over the various jurisdiction that we have, a house is a quality of life, a high quality of life. You understand? People lay ahead, people think through things, this way you can deal with things privately, not putting up people's face and people's business. It's a high standard of quality of life. And right now, people are walk up and down with them clothes in them hand. They have to carry everything with them have to go bathe. Oh my goodness, man. It's
Yeah,
exhausting.
some people house full of mud. I saw Ras Flacco share some pictures online. His whole house full of mud. You know what I mean? So all of those things have to throw out.
Frustrating, man.
It's
Yes,
serious
frustrating.
things.
Yes.
What are we looking at in this picture here?
Well,
This Ras house?
yes, Ras Ige sent me this picture. So it could either be his house or the house in the immediate vicinity because he told me he has taken responsibility. Let us use that word for 12 other families who is looking to him for help as a Rastafarian. So there's 12 other families in the community who he is supporting, which is why him say, bring everything, even tenants, because he will eat him gluten and him chunks and whatever. But he would love to know him can give something as a Rastafarian can give something to others so that they can eat, because it is getting more and more desperate. It's no longer a laughing matter for some people. Really and truly, starvation and desperation is working its magic on people's mind, right? So right now it's like cannibal thing has set up itself, right? Yeah, cannibal attitude, people just dog damn dog. Up to this morning, my sister was saying that you can see persons who are not used to begging, they have them live or whatever, they are now coming out and now being vocal, and you can see it on them that they're not used to this type of pleading and whatever. They're not used to begging, but right now the desperation is of such where they now have to open their mouth and say, hey, we need help. And when you look on them, you cannot say. And the people them were used to after a big no, I mean say them show off now, not a humble looking people them. People them where mind them own business and try to fend with and whatever. That is no having to now go out there and with them hands open saying, listen, the death angel are compound way, Yeah, so
It's serious.
not
It's serious.
pretty. Not pretty.
It's serious. This flyer that I'm showing, this is a RMO flyer. Rastafari Relief, Rebuild, and Rise. So it's 3 phases, and the plan will be shared widely shortly. But there's a GoFundMe. You see the QR code, so you can scan the QR code. We need funds. People are going out in their private vehicles to do the mapping, the assessment, bring water, bring food. We want to make sure we have resources that those people can get paid. They're taking off, work. They're losing. We need money to buy the actual goods. And we're trying to put that money in the hands of farmers, Rastafari farmers, where possible. So our relief effort as Rastafari is going to be a little bit different than the wider relief because of the type of food that we sip, because of the things. We're going to be identifying distribution centers. Those centers, we'll be trying to equip with temporary housing tents. So it's a very comprehensive plan for the short term: water, filtration, basics of life, and livity. The man can go somewhere, go bathe, use a toilet in dignity. All of these things, some people don't have these basics. So this flyer I'll also share in our community tab here on the Lion Voice Network on YouTube. We'll also share it on social media. The RMO Instagram also is carrying it. So this is where it begins, family. I told the item as soon as we had something solid that we would start programming. Bongo James is our first guest, but we're going to have a range of guests from the island that will speak to the condition. And long after this is off of the front page and the world attention and the next crisis, we're going to be dealing with this relief, rebuild, and rise campaign. Because as I said, this also provides us an opportunity to rebuild stronger. Bongo James was talking about underground facilities and greenhouses and these things, and it might sound fanciful, but we have to look into these things because hurricanes not going to stop. And, even though Melissa was terrible, probably the most terrible, imagine if it did hit the whole island, Imagine if it did hit Kingston and the whole island was in the same state as the North Coast and the West Coast right now, terrible and dreadful. So we want to raise the funding so that we can help ourselves. So for the ones who wanted to contribute to specifically to Rastafari people, and we encourage ones to contribute to the reputable efforts all over, every Jamaican. But as I said, Rastafari have specific needs that are not going to be met by the larger campaign. And this is why we are engaging a separate funding I know House of Seba have a campaign, so feel free to also contribute to individual campaigns. There's no wrong way to give strength because the strength is needed across. I spoke with Jabi from Dark. Dark is doing a campaign. They'll be doing things, and we're going to be having representatives from different entities here also to talk about what they're doing. Support it all where you can, family. Just um, give where you can, $5, $10, $1,000. If you're a millionaire and you can give 10,000 or a million, do that too. 'Cause all of it will be needed. The need is so great right now. So I just wanted to share that flyer, and we'll share it again, and we'll have the link for the GoFundMe in the description for this video. So the ones them who want to support, and the RMO is a all mansion entity in Jamaica. 14 mansion and organization have signed the constitution, which just commits them to say, you know what, we're going to work together. So this is a major test for the RMO in terms of the Inity. And I've been on some of the emergency meetings. Half of the RMO can't come on the meeting them because they're in the affected areas. So they don't have any power, light, nothing like that. But the ones who can, it's been very encouraging to see the love, to see the time, the commitment to actually not just be reactive, but put together a comprehensive plan that looks to the short, the mid, and the long term goals. So that some of the things that we want to come out of this is that as we equip these distribution centers to deal with the short term, we want to make sure that we are getting things like generators, big generators, where even after this disaster, these centers are equipped with independent power source. These centers have their own tents where they can now house people properly. So we want to build in that resilience. Places like Pit 4, other places. We'll announce officially. We're still working out the details as to the distribution center, so I don't want to call no name. But there'll be Rastafari sites that the community knows. In addition to vehicles going out into the affected areas, into the countryside, and bring, because some people can't walk, they can't reach these centers. So it's not an either or, it's a and, and.
Right.
Both and situation.
It's a multi-pronged approach that we need to have, where we can bridge execution with efficiency. You know what I mean, so that we don't use up the resources of the funding, because we have to also think about donor fatigue. So we want to minimize as much administrative as possible, so that we can give as much to the people, and that can only be that we have created a level of efficiency. So having like centers, Rastafari settlements, temporary settlements at these centers would go a long way in terms of us dropping the goods there and have it be distributed among the far right that is in the 10 cities in these areas, so that we know at least 60 to 70% of the needs is being addressed within these centers if they develop as they ought to. While the other 30%, no, we can concentrate, or we can logistically hit them with as much of what we have in the shortest possible time, so that we can perform what I want to call resupply. What I am really hunting for is that we can get to a place where we understand the full population, to understand their responsibility within their communities themselves, and we can set up a consistent resupply chain, because the campaign for the donation for me will not begin until we know what the needs are down to a science in terms of a daily, weekly, monthly requirements, so that these persons can be resupplied and sustained until they can come back on it again, until we can get that math out of the way and the various logistics to ensure that resupply is taking place. Then the one-off and the two-off knee-jerk reaction will just be a torture rather than a salvation. So the issue is to have a resupply architecture where we know how much food we need to bring to feed for on a weekly basis so as to sustain the lives that are there and the various other parts. To have one having enough strength to say, listen, you can't stay here, so get into the tent city so that we can get resources to you more quicker than if we have to come in some far places that you can easily be forgotten as a result. So it's this new dynamic of community and a community that is sustainable and that is willing to live in peace with each other, recognizing that we are all under the same umbrella of doom if we are not willing to work together, and in so doing, actually have the lotus flower of a real Rastafari community come forward out of the adverse situation that we have just endured. But it's to really and truly live out what we have been preaching in the light of Melissa in a new and living way, looking onto his impairments and recognizing the truth that he has been always trying to say to us, but we were just reciting but not realizing. And in so doing, use this as an opportunity to really mean what we say and say what we mean, and to actually work and recognize in the fullest of his impairment of Rastafari, Livity, amongst and peace and love return. You know,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Bongo James.
Yes. So I don't know if there's a section where, because I really don't want, I mean, let me say it in a way that is not too condescending. But I'm hoping that ones and ones don't necessarily see Bongo James as the only one that is working on behalf as far right to far right. I would really love to be able to express some of the efforts that
Yes.
Rastafari did do or is doing, you know, that made me very proud. So let me give an example. When I realized that there was no way of there was no way of consolidating the help that was being inundated to me, that people was just calling me and saying, Bongo James, what are you doing? Are you doing anything? Because they, based off what had happened at the East High School, in their minds, they may have believed that, Bongo James may have something to work in there. But honestly, I didn't. I mean, I was more worried about my family who was in St. Elizabeth, who I did not heard from, and I was just worried about them. It was just making me very depressed. So I wasn't thinking about any effort coordination or anything like that. But because of the calls that I was getting from overseas, who wants to know if there's something they can do, they want to do something. I just say, no, let me see what I can do to start the process somewhat, to create a funnel that they were able to know where the effort and what type of help they can give based off the needs that has been identified and assessed. So as I began the process, I recognized that, my goodness, I don't have no data on anyone at all. It's that I've been going blind. There's no way of planning, and that is when I began to realize how important these institutional, organizational requirements are. Knowing suddenly it was like an epiphany. It's like everything just exploded in terms of the importance of organization as an umbrella of protection, as a layer, a vital layer of protection of the people who are housed inside of it, to protect them from these disasters. It's like it was an epiphany. Everything just began to become crystal clear as to why preparation as an organization is so important. All of the dust just got washed away. So I started immediately this mapping thing. I didn't dub it as a mapping at the time, but as a relief. But the mapping would have been implied in the Rastafari Melissa Disaster Relief WhatsApp group, and I sent out a voice note to say that I want donations, yes, because everybody would expect donations, but not the donation that you think right now. I want information. I want data. I want persons and locations who are marooned, and I don't even want to know, they are marooned. I just want to know if you know of RIs in locations where we can do a search and rescue, to go and find them and to build out that, bring water, bring food, and so on, because those first 72 hours is crucial. I mean, the shock of it all make you become thirsty, make you become, because like you go through this trauma, so you really need a little water. Just like when you're faint, you want a little water to wash you off and just because I mean that must have been a traumatic experience that ones and ones would have gone through in these parishes. So you want to be able to, within the first 2 hours, to bring that aid, to at least bring that reassurance and so on, that, to understand, that shell shock type thing. But you have to know where the people are to do that, and that became like just so absolutely clear. And said, my God, we have failed in emphasizing why the mapping was, because we did, I mean, I and myself, we said, well, I have a map once and once that we know if they, have self-reliance amongst I and can go to the plumber and so on, because we had that conversation years ago. But no, this decision about disasters, we are not resilient. And that was, when everything, and when I say send me the data, send me the information, and I wasn't seeing it, I wasn't seeing names popping up. I was while I look for that person to me, I mean, set out a challenge to say, I want 100 names in 24 hours, because we must, ones and ones must know somebody, 3 or 4 persons who they can put in the chat to say, look for Ras Shirley for me, look for Ras Cecil, they are located at Pitford, they are located at that. That is what I was expecting. I wasn't seeing it happening. I said, my goodness, what is happening here? Not even information I get without it. I can't come up with a credible plan of response. So this is when I decided, what, let me go to Saltmarsh, let me go Pitford and see if I can do some underground mapping and at least start the process. But even though mapping is what I want to do, I'm still going to go with some goods nonetheless, not to not go empty-handed, but that would be my initial response, because again, resupply is where my mind, the ability to map out where everything is, and then set up funding donation for resupply for the next 2 to 3 months, because that is what's going to be key for the survival. So when I went to Saltmarsh, I mean, talking to ones and ones and so on, Ras Pleister is the one that called me across. He was the one that seems stable, enough to give me a
I just clarify that Saltmarsh is House of Seba.
House of Seba, yes, that's it.
Yes, House of Seba. Ras Jabali
that is Ras Jabali Foundation, yes. Yeah, that's
Ras
the first
Jabali
stop I made.
Lion Vice, big up Ras Jabali, and House of Seba was greatly impacted. Most of the
damage
was destroyed. You know what I mean?
Extensively.
So yeah. So but continue.
So when I got there, I finally settled on a rat slicer, who then, I went to this vehicle and we began discussing, and he now began showing me that they were collating the list, that there are various networks within Rastafari that was actually supported. That was when I realized that Rastafari was helping out Rastafari in huge ways, to the point that they were connected with Africa, and Africa had containers on the high seas coming to Jamaica as you speak. So there were networks that were already activated, just they weren't visible. So I would love to tell the audience that Rastafari was on the job, and I would even want to go as far as say to you that Ras Delroy, who's an artist, who have worked in the Tivoli area doing murals and so on, but he is in Spanish Town and in Napen. He has ones and ones who he operates with as Rastafari within Tivoli. They were within the 72 hours of the disaster, they went out from Tivoli and began going into the western areas with chainsaws, cutting the trees them out of the way. Youths from Rastafarians from Tivoli were the first responders that came and started cutting the trees out of the road to ensure that supplies and rescue could actually take place. Because believe it or not, after the storm, trees and debris was just all over the road. Roads were broken out and, pathways were just locked. So even if you had a thunderous desire to go in to the rescue, there were no roads to support you. And if it did, there's enough debris there that, is like a Fort Knox. So when these young men from Tivoli know, a place where, in safety, went to their cars with their chainsaws and was just hacking away. That was Rastafari acting wisely, recognizing that if roads are not clear, help cannot come. And I am proud to know that, I can be a voice to those type of initiatives. When I spoke with Spicer and I said, and I got information about the lists being done and the mapping being done and the 10 cities possibility, because I told him that an idea that came from Bingitele to me. Bingitele was now in Switzerland and who has this organization that is called the Rastafari Nation of Switzerland. I have to give a large shout out to them. I mean, I can tell you when I was working on the bathroom for the Islase High School, and we were down in terms of our funds, and we were literally back against the wall of finishing the project in a royal fashion, where we were literally thousands of dollars out. It was the Rastafari Nation of Switzerland that came to the rescue and really caused us to go over that hill and finish in a way that the children could say this is a home away from home. But children who spoke of horror stories of being afraid to go inside the bathroom, preferring to hold up until them go home before them even was now saying that what they experienced was a home away from home. But
and let me publicly thank the I and the team that work with the I in refurbishing the bathrooms at Haile Selassie High School. A lot of people, talk about what we can do for the school, but the I saw through the project. I know many others have done great works at the school, but I want to publicly thank the I because the I is here with I for the work that the I did for refurbishing those bathrooms for those youths, inner city youths at Haile Selassie High School, Bongo James. You know what I mean? Mighty works.
As is, and which is why I want to, as I say, public acknowledge Rastafari Nation of Switzerland, because they are the ones who really in the final. I mean, Salt Marsh is the first batch of person. I mean, Sarfa family. They are the first that put money together for the same project, and I shout out to them again, which is why I felt good when I went there first, because they are the ones who together put money together to be the first one to contribute towards the bathroom rehabilitation. Separate apart from what Jabal himself personally gave, different from what because he gave from out of his personal contribution, as but the ones who were there put them little some change together and come up with a significant amount that started the process. And I have to give thanks to them as well. But Rastafari Nation of Switzerland, they are the one that really holds the show for us to give that royal finish. But we didn't want it to be just any. You wanted when once go inside the bathroom, the symmetry, the mirrors, the dispensers. it was just a royal bathroom. And as I say, Rastafari Nation of Switzerland, Inity initiative, because building a stronghold right there in Switzerland, which I believe in time to come will prove its message, towards Rastafari's deliverance, salvation, and repatriation. So big kudos to them, and they have re-engaged again. They have re-engaged that they want to be able to support the people of Jamaica, and they have specifically wanted that the Rastafarians that they are supporting must also be facilitated to support the communities that they're in that may not be far right, but they are adherents, but they are there and they are looking up to Rastafarian for leadership and for direction and for comfort and for hope. That the nation, the Rastafari nation of Switzerland, is really in tune with wanting to see that the Rastafari love be propagated within the community in which they are living or contextualized. So it's a complete love offering that they want to give in order to uh support the people of Jamaica. They've also recognized that the the most the greatest way that we can scale our ability to provide service to our people is to really get the centers them up and running. Of course, water, food, and clothes is priority, but where we may stabilize on that a bit, we should, and we're now at the place of needing material for rebuilding. The centers should be the first priority. The house of our Thanksgiving, Malvern, Pitford, and Saltmarsh should be places that we are raising back up immediately to first and foremost function as tent city areas, because when you look at some of the houses that they have caught on film, which I know is more, they are all flattened. I mean, flat to the ground. Far right with the Empress, I live out a car. Sitting in one they have a time when they can just stretch out and just really sleep in one area where they know they are absolutely safe in a community where they know that they are loved. And hence, the 10 cities are going to be very important, which means that the centers will have to be up in order to provide both healing and administrative services, and to also provide logistics as well. Because if these containers are coming, we don't want these containers to be any place. We want to know that they can come to a place where they can be stripped down efficiently, documented, so that in a way that what the donors can get a sense that these things are being funneled and being impactful. So need to provide those documents, documentaries are those that documentation, whether visual or written, so that our donors don't get donor fatigue, but they see where their hard-earned sacrifice is making that impact, and the centers will go a far way in helping to deliver on that, because we need to have a consistent place where the things can come, process, repackage, redistribute, on a constant level until we stabilize, until people can get back on their feet and can go back to their places of abode or rebuild. And not only that, too. Once we have a community type situation, then we can set up rosters as to how, from a cooperative standpoint, go and rebuild back the ones and ones houses, especially if they have been ones who have been serving their communities in one way or in one form or next, that they need to be returned so that they can be a catalyst for rebuilding and a source of hope as far right. So it is going to be important that we set up the centers support the membership, and the membership can now go back and support the communities where they have been in. So that is a strategy that I believe that we believe we should use, and that the Rastafari Nation of Switzerland is willing to endorse. They have already started the process of sending funding and so on, and it looks quite substantial. And to the point that I'm saying that I will own according to the instruction that they give. because it looks like they are really serious about giving substantial amount. And I give thanks again for Rastafari because he's the center of Rastafari. My mama Paya's son from Portland, Buff Bay, right in Portland. He's the one that it's his group that he has families and we training and really bringing awareness to our struggles, within that space, of Switzerland. Because the level of outpouring and response is significant and really meaningful. So we just want to just give a shout out on that. So those centers is really a priority if we're being, and I should say so something to a point discussion. When I said to Ras so that I wanted to leave some of the water and food at Salt Marsh at house of CC Bus. Him said no, we're all right. We have water, we have it, and yet still I don't believe that they had enough. Really actually what he was wanting to say that he believed that Pit 4 was so devastated, of which he was right. That it's best you leave it at Pit 4 but they will survive from where we are. Because when I went there, community people were at Salt Marsh because global kitchens, those wheels on these that came, they were using House of March as a location for the people them of the community to come and get a hot meal and get water to drink, and people were there, and I know that there were more before I came, but they were there mulling around and joining the line and waiting for their food, and these were people from the adjoining communities that were coming to the grounds of Salt Marsh to get food to eat. So that is what was happening there. It was very heartening. And that's why Ras Paisa said to me that, take the rest, take what you have to Pit 4. And that was what we did, and I mean, even though night came down and the place became very dark, and even ominous, and rains came on top of it, something else that says, no, we're not going to turn back with the food. Not going to go back to the sun. We are going to find it for even in the darkness to ensure that whosoever is there with us, that they have nothing from God. And I really thank God for right to give us that resolve, because I mean everything was in our way to say nobody. I mean, the news reports are saying that travel at night and everything, which is true, I mean, you must look after your safety, but there was something deep down that says no, we have to reach Pit 4. And Rastafari, we did, and I'm really happy that we went because there was a sister in there who came from United States, but she's based in Ghana, who had come there 4 days prior to the storm because she wants to set up a tabernacle in Ghana, an Iabing tabernacle. So she was just coming to see how much she can lend support and just get that vibration to bring back. She came with even her 3 daughters. One was two were twins, 17-year-old, and the other one was 18-year-old. So there's 4 ladies that were at the 4 in the pitch darkness. And when we came, she was just so happy because, and was telling her story that she just came 4 days and the storm hit her and made her maroon there. And, we were like persons did come during the coronation, but we are like the first shards of light that had come to replenish and resupply and to bring a little Isis and so on. So I was so happy that we made it because, recognizing someone who did come as guests and find themselves in this awful situation, but no fault of their own other than just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. That comfort will come from so far, was really a Rastafari message that will consolidate, why she's doing what she's doing. And that was a wonderful experience. Pit 4 was a destructive scene and a horrible scene. Because we come there at night, so when I use my flashlight, it's as if the whole place make out a light post standing. There was no branches on the tree, just this long, and then when you see it in the backdrop and with the light, it's just like a horror scene, a ghostly scene, of destruction. I mean, it's never this strong in my face. I would want to run out of that place. And when I go on to the tabernacle, oh my goodness, it might not be fully destroyed, but it just looks desecrated. It just have a look of desecration, that something out of the storm came and just said, no, this will get destroyed, this will get corrupted or, defaced, in a very ugly way. So you look at the place, you look at the tabernacle, and it just looks like someone just came there with a vengeance to stamp it down and to deface it and to humiliate it and so on. So, I even asked one of the ones to just keep a fire burning, there's enough material there to keep a 21 lights, after the fire they're burning to cleanse the place and to put judgment on judgment, you know what I mean? So me tell them because I see where them starting to saw up some of the trees and so on. But in terms it was far worse than this was. They couldn't even walk in. So everything was all the branches were on the ground. So they were like doing a lot of cutting because I saw freshly cut into the chainsaw and so on. So that's them say, guys, it's all right. Whole heap of work to do, a whole heap of wood, keep a 21 lights of just burning the fire. Just keep the fire burning. Keep the fire burning.
I wanna just pause it there. I'm gonna just quickly go to the comment section. Acknowledge some of the comments. Bongo Wisely. St. Lucia checking in, blessing, it's a grand rising family, love and light and logics.
Greetings. Yes, Bongo Wisely.
Yes, I Ras Roots, big up yourself. Yes, I big up and give thanks for this growing Rastafari trad. Big up yourself, Ras Roots. Gain up me, Sister Emmanuel. Big up, brethren, that my good sister, my Lion Pride and Patreon checking in. Ras Roots with a $5 contribution. Big up yourself, Ras Roots. Ras Roots right now is helping to fuel the economic engine. So if you want to give an attribution, you can click the $ on top of the comment section and you can give a $5, $10. And again, we want to fund Rastafari media that I can be on the ground to showcase the relief or hire someone to do these works. This is a full-time work. It really requires funding. So give thanks, Roots, for the eye. Every live Roots at least a $5. So we give thanks with the CDI and we appreciate of the example. Ras William says, royal greetings, priestly warriors and empresses. Blessed be that divine name of his imperial majesty, Haile Selassie Jah Rastafari, glory and honor to his chosen queen empress was zero, many not far. Big up yourself, Ross William, and next Lion Pride and Patreon. My Patreon family, don't leave me out. We give thanks. Bongo Wisely in this house, St. Lucia. Big up Lion Pride. Don't forget to hit the share and comment. Help support this great Rastafari Pan-African channel. Give thanks. Yes, Ross Roots. Give thanks. We're not lonely. Johnny Johnson, Ubuntu Lion Pride checking in. Pray for me. I've been in the hospital 8 days, getting better, but still need prostate surgery. I'm a veteran of Hurricane Gilbert, 1988, as a first responder. Came to Jamaica in USA seaplane full of supplies. Big up yourself, our elder Johnny Johnson. If you haven't seen his interview, go check it out. He's a medical doctor. He's a ordained priest within the Orthodox faith. He has a life. He's been all over Africa. We're praying for the Johnny Johnson. You're part of our family. And he has donated 2 Lion of Judah jackets. We're going to have a giveaway for these jackets. We're just getting everything together. Big up yourself, Johnny Johnson. We're definitely praying for the eye. It's amazing how any nation could spend $2 billion USD in infrastructure and a hurricane can destroy it in one day. Jaja. Yes, Johnny Johnson, it is amazing. You know what I mean? That's the reality that we face right now. Goshen St. Elizabeth had the greatest yellow yam in Jamaica. I can testify to that. Okay, I don't know that. Johnny Johnson is like a encyclopedia, you know. I'm going to tell you, we have the greatest audience on the planet. We need more drones in Jamaica to map out the recovery efforts. Many youth in Jamaica need to volunteer these drones to map out full recovery. That is the next thing as Rastafari. I think I know a couple of ones who have drones, but it's a good sound. Bongo James is on point. Biostatistics, epidemiology, JCO and churches are the front line. Government can do all, but many hurricane relief supplies have fell to corruption, mismanagement, and theft. People are dying. Yes, it's real. It's real. Freeway Dreadnext patron checking in. He said the eye is right. Storms will come. It takes effort to come out. The lone lion effect on and off. Jam 1. It's true. The lone lion era is done. If you're a lone lion, you find out, say, you can't help nobody. Lone lioness can't help nobody. We have to come together. That's why the lion is king, you know. Not because the lion is the strongest cat, because maybe the Siberian tiger might beat him up, but him having pride, you know what I mean? That is what creates the magnificence of the lion. Is the only cat that come with a pride, a group, a family, collective security the lion them use. I and I have been chanting for the security as well. Lightning and thunder. Ras Maisha grew up in Falmouth, you know what I mean? Is a man we know Pitford very well. Ras Maisha. Big up yourself. Pam Marshall says, even using your bank card, you can be tracked. So that is it. You don't man got ATM, you're on a smartphone, but you don't want your brother know where you're there. Every 3-letter agency know where you're there, except for your family them will need to help you. So this kind of hiding, and we know also we have wanted man in the faith, and these wanted man get aggressive when you try to find out. We're not asking the item for your thing. If you want to stay hidden, fine, but don't tell the people them say we must have them information, because as a family, we need to know where each other are, and we need to know what each other does. Because why would I go and buy and get a plumber if my brethren, a Rastafari brethren, is a plumber and I can hire him? You know, Rasroot said this catastrophe might be a way to implement hempcrete products, and also a way for the people to be able to produce the building materials for present and future relief, give thanks. And that's what we're talking about with the rise. Relief, rebuild, and rise is that we don't want to rebuild the what was there before. The zinc fence era is over. It should be over, because zinc cannot withstand a category 5 that is coming. We have about a 6-month window before hurricane season starts again. We want to rebuild with stronger material, eco-friendly. You know, I put forward the Kazi. You know, we're doing a series here, the building of, the road to heaven on earth. I'm just coming from Ghana, the Kwaku Ando Sustainability Institute, which is a proof of concept that heaven can be built on earth. That is what we want to see in Jamaica, off the grid, natural building materials that can still withstand. So if it's hempcrete, whatever it is, we want to build forward a vision of Rastafari that we've never been able to manifest prior to this. You know what I mean? We want a futuristic vision of Rastafari. Old school banana storm trick handed down, talking about the farmer in St. Thomas. And that's the indigenous knowledge, how to prepare for a storm. And that wasn't faith, that was intuition. That banana farmer is a cosmic thinker. Definitely. Is Earth, this is Earth, every mountain was once underwater. And we have to know that, you know what I mean? Very serious. JCO is an acronym for Jamaica Society of Organizations in Jamaica and the Diaspora Frontline. Okay, give thanks. We learn. Yes, I good move, prepare and organize is the only way forward, family. There's no other way. Um, Johnny Johnson said, Honorable Marcus Garvey always stated, don't wait until you have your back up against the wall. Back up wall. Yes, Johnny Johnson. Rastafari, man, women and children are the last defenders of faith, intuition. We have work to do. Bongo James, what is the situation with Haile Selassie High School? I'll let you answer that shortly. Um, I'm hearing that there's a lot of robbery going on with some of the relief reaching JA. The system is being accused of robbing some of the items. How true is that? So I'm going to let the I answer those last two questions and then we'll get some final words on from the I Bongo James. What is the current situation of Haile Selassie High School? And talk to us about if you have heard anything about corruption or things not reaching where they're supposed to reach in terms of the relief effort. We can start with Haile Selassie High School.
Okay. For the Selassie High School, Sister Karida, I must say, came with the idea that the school could be used as a base in which relief efforts could be orchestrated, the same way, the containers could come there and do the depositing of the goods because it have been a larger space in which these things can be unpacked, processed, and then repackaged for redistribution. I think that's a great idea that could be explored along with other centers that we could focus on. That said, I reached out to the principal, and the principal told me that from an infrastructure standpoint, the school is quite fine. School did not receive any severe damages in relation to the storm itself. However, teachers did not fare so well with their homes. A lot of the teachers, told by her, has lost their homes in are suffered extensive damage, which has caused a lull in their spirit, by extension would spill over to the students. But that is where the catastrophe is for the schools, that the teachers themselves have either lost homes or have suffered extensive damage. As a result.
Serious. What is the general operation of the school? And what help does the school need generally? Because I know the I has been on that mission. Um, and there's so much need and things that we have to deal with, but if we can just give a quick update, how is the school just operation
This
wise?
school, the ballpark figure that I was told when things were okay is that the school's budget is $200 million per year. That's the budget, and yet that they don't get that. So things break down, things get ignored, and as a result, it shows in terms of how the school, is sometimes, whether in the eyes of the students or the eyes of ones that visit. But since, and I'm not saying that it is the reason, but since the intervention, with the bathroom, we have been getting, a fair amount of, 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 of work coming. The Marlies, I'm told, have engaged, that much more fully in relation to the school. And I'm told that the government has decided to fix the entire roof of the school, which are major thing because a lot of mold was setting into the classroom because, on top of the building, the roof is a pool whenever rain falls. And as a result, the mold seeps through the cracks and the water seeps through the cracks and cause too many toxic molds to form in the classroom. Sometimes you see an entire wall filled with molds and gangrene that they have to just abandon that space, completely. So the roof being fixed is really the primary thing that has to be done whatever else that we need to do for the school is to have a lasting effect, and that painting over because the walls are stripping, of the paint and so on, and the fungus is getting into those things. So the aesthetic of the place is compromised as a result of the roof not being as airtight or as watertight as it should. So to hear the government is finally going to fix the roof, that is a first step. If or when I should say that is done, then I believe we can now begin to do the type of intervention with the long lasting and will turn the school back into the palace look that it and feel that it should have, and one that truly characterizes the Imperial Majesty's desire to see the quality of life of his people improve, the children being a type of his citizens, and the children, should also be experiencing the type of life that he wants for them through the school itself. And that is one of the things, or the major thing that I want to project in the school, that the facilities and the atmosphere and everything should reflect that royal protection and that royal liberty that is environment we want all its citizens to experience and to enjoy as a high standard of living. And we are determined to do exactly that. In that regard, yeah. In terms of the corruption things, I've heard news, I've seen text messages, but again, I don't have any verified evidence. I haven't investigated, but I'm hearing news of scamming of resources or even funds in relation to relief efforts. And sometimes things get, mixed up because, again, if you have resources and you do not know how to distribute them, then you're going to stuck with them. You're not going to be able to know what to do. So I would tell persons who wants to contribute, or should I say, who wants to do something through others' contribution, that they need to get a plan, a work plan, or a strategy in terms of how you're going to execute after you get those donations, or better yet, ask whosoever giving you the donation what you want them to do with it, and you try your best to execute accordingly, so that one is encouraged to continue giving, because it is a sacrifice, and we want to respect that sacrifice, not trying to take it away by being one that is of integrity. So we must leave yourself dry, because if you need grease to move along, but it takes, gas to move about, takes fear, it takes, but at the same time, it mustn't go over in a way that it undermines the effectiveness of the contribution to the ones who need it, who are, stranded. So, let us keep the donors' desire to continue to help alive by, doing what we know we should do, which is to ensure that there is transparency, ensure that persons see what the end result is from their giving. That is why even today, some things came from Sister Exempria to the elders at EWF Father 37, that is Bongo Trevor, you know, and I was asked to help to transport them, which I did, and I took videos of the experience same way, even though I have not contributed to that one. I make sure I take video because I want Sister Alexandria and the ones who are supporting her to see that, what she has contributed has reached the final destination, because doing these things are encouraging, action. So I would say that those who have received funds try and take videos of what they're doing and the final execution, so that you can send back to your donors, so that they know that they have a genuine partner on the ground.
And we're going to be highlighting a lot of that here. because I want to demonstrate, because a lot of people don't know why we need Rastafari independent non-aligned media. So I want to demonstrate to them it's in a crisis that you realize. For example, I want to just highlight some of these images. This is Malvern, St. Elizabeth. So we can see earthquake space, the roof gone, right? So, you know what I mean? So this is going to require a lot of strengthening. You can see the damage, structures collapse, you know what I mean? This is all exclusive, you know what I mean? That's the tabernacle. So you're not going to see these things anywhere else, family. And if we had ones on the ground,
Warrior King.
you know what I mean? Sorry, if we had ones on the ground, we would be able to send correspondence with camera like how CNN go out on a space and cover and interview people and keep the world up to date. The global Rastafari family need to know what's happening so that they can be mobilized. And one of the things as well is that the narrative around the hurricane, because we don't want the narrative to just be doom and gloom. We want it to also be that this is a time for great opportunity to rebuild the right way, futuristic, you know what I mean? Wakanda kind of vibration where we have built out something where inspire the youth them to say, that the rest them build. Because remember, we have not tapped the goodwill around the world. My following right now is 57,000. If every one of my subscribers gave $10, that would be over $500,000. So you can imagine each Rastafari creative. You know, we have some big artists, we have different people who have their followings. If they gave even $1, you know what I mean, we can raise millions to do the redevelopment from the goodwill. You have millionaires right now, you have billionaires right now where I just Bob Marley them and they listen and he would have loved no saying could have give $1 million to a Rastafari plan, and that's one of the reasons that I give thanks that the RMO has taken an approach to build a comprehensive plan. And the RMO is not saying that they're going to execute every part of the plan, but we want to have a plan so that different organizations taking different pieces, but everybody knows what they are doing, and we're working to the greater good. Again, it's an opportunity to rebuild in a way that never has been done with architectural plans, with engineers building structures that can withstand a Category 5 hurricane, building in economic viability, so the sustainability of these sites, you know what I mean? We need working farms, we need seed banks, we need all of these things that are going to sustain our ITAL food production, from seed to the genetics, to the table, to post-harvest, to processing, to packaging, to distribution points. These distribution centers now can become permanent Rastafari distribution points for ITAL food and goods. So we, as we build out the system to rebuild, we want to build with a futuristic thing in mind. We also want to make sure these distribution centers have training programs where people can learn about agribusiness and construction. A man can learn how to lay a tile. A man can learn how to lay blocks, build a foundation, build a house. A man know how to put on a roof. You know what I mean? All of these things can now be taught at these distribution points in addition to ITAL standard. The RMO is working on creating an ITAL certification standard. So all of these things now, it gives us an opportunity to implement our sovereign food system, our resilience plan, our mapping. We have a chance to finally map. And with the mapping now, we can create a directory where Rastafari people can now find each other. So we know where the plumber them. Okay, 10 plumber there, St. Thomas. Okay, 3 Tyler is over Hanover. You know what I mean? We start share this information among ourselves. So now you have an ecosystem of Rastafari that is circulating its dollar among itself. We're building true community. We have an opportunity in this crisis to not just be scattered, but now to really organize and centralize. We've been hearing this sound from I came in the movement in 1998 when I start Chad. Now here organize and centralize, and now today we are seeing the importance. Why His Majesty tell us to organize and centralize first? You know what I mean? Because we need to be organized and centralized. When we go to Africa, the 2 industries that are going to be vital are agriculture and construction. We have to feed ourselves, we have to build lodging, we have to build health centers, we have to build food markets. All of these things have to be built. So if we are now building our distribution points so that they are training our people, so now when they go to Africa, they're going to be in the industries that are high earning and they are going to be able to prosper. So it's a whole holistic system that we're looking at with the RMO plan. It's going to be available. The RMO has now sent it out to different Rastafari organizations for their input. And in the interest of transparency, there's a budget. So again, we're going to be putting this out as the Association of Rastafari Creatives. We're going to be calling on some of our Rastafari artists, creatives to come on board and help push it out to their network. So this is just getting started. Again, family, I said I wanted to wait until we had some solid information. The solid information has arrived in the form of the RMO Relief, Rebuild, and Rise program. This video, when you're watching it on the replay, share it out to all the Rastafari WhatsApp groups and channels. The item can scan the QR code. I'll have the GoFundMe link in the description as well, so that ones can start to support and once call you and say, where can I send funds? Also, we're going to be working with our existing entities. Dark Foundation is a registered NGO in Jamaica. I just got that confirmation from Jabi. And we have other registered NGOs in Jamaica. So we're not reinventing the wheel. So if containers are coming, different things are coming, we're gonna be coordinating amongst the family. So we have responsible ones that can receive these things, and the distribution can happen in a way that's transparent and it reaches our Rastafari family. So I do give thanks. I'm gonna allow the eye just to say some final words on Bongo James. You know, the critical things, messaging that we want to leave the global family with. Let us know. Just a final song.
Yes, give thanks. And I must say that give thanks to the I, most importantly, for the I initiative with Lion Talk and with the I book, as I have started reading it from the time, and I was impressed with how detailed, you know, and but yes, still it's not detailed, it's in your face, it's just weaved into the story. So you're getting a full history without it being in your face. It's like the history is just flowing almost, you know, poignantly as you're reading. So you're being entertained with a story, but nonetheless you're being educated at the same time as to how, you know, the news behind the news. You know, you'll read straight as being this, but when you read your things, like you understand why this happened the way it did, through how it was explained. You know, almost a point, but you know it has to have come through deep research in order to that one line of fact that really make everything else sense. So I give thanks to the eye in terms of bringing that level of
So kind.
awareness.
Yeah, I gave one of the greatest reviews of my book when I listened to the it was in a meeting, and I know I'm gonna get that record in there because I forget to ask you, but when you were reading the book, very encouraging. I want to thank and I'm glad that you full joy it because I wrote it like an epic fantasy. That's how
Yes,
I see
yes, yes, I
it.
realize.
Yeah, I see it as the greatest story never told. So I wanted to tell it like a griot would tell it. I'm gonna actually be doing a GoFundMe in the new year. I was planning to do it this year, but so many things happen so that I can begin volume two. And for volume two, I want to go to Ethiopia and spend at least a month so I can do some first-hand research, get some things translated, so that volume two is going to take us up to from 1893 to the point of his getting the title of the Chaz match. So I have to
Mm.
cover the Battle of Adwa, all of those things in the next volume. So I definitely want to go to Adwa, see the terrain. So when I'm writing about it, I can I can write intelligently. Um, okay, Rasmaisha, hold on there, Rasmaisha. See the QR code here. So one, you said the QR code is a little bit blurry. I'm gonna have the link in the bio as well if the QR code is not picking up. Um, okay, that was Russ Roots that actually QR code. Um, all right. I'm gonna put the link in the bio, Russ Roots. So if you can get it, what I mean, we'll make sure that I get that information. And again, this is just the beginning. I'll probably get just an image of the QR code by itself so people can get big enough to scan. So we're just getting started. All right, Bongo James. I interrupted the nice review of the book. Of the book. So just seal up with your final word, sound, and message to the global family.
Yes, as I say, I believe that your initiative, good, and I was want to, just encourage I to just continue in what you're doing, in trying to being a network with amongst and connect us. And, and most importantly, as I say, I believe that the organizational structure, even for RMO, is one that should now find its firm footing on being a disaster relief and recovery response model organization. I think if we should have that as the core basis of our motivation, then I think everything else will fall into place. We have to want to build the organization in a way that it can respond within 72 hours of a disaster on behalf of our membership. And I believe that once that is our core focus, then we will get it right. That will mean, therefore, that those who have not experienced something like a milliliter, we're going to need documentaries. We're going to need things, visuals, storytelling that will viscerally cause new administrative membership. In other words, ones who are going to take the reins of, you know, command and control, or one that's going to take administrative duties need to be initiated by these documentaries and these to let them relive what our people went through and why we must not allow it to happen again our watch if and when a disaster occurs, that people know why they are doing what they're doing and not just sleepwalking through the administrative work that requires to really galvanize resources to build that resistance, that resilience, and by extension, the self-reliance that we need, so that we are clear about why organizations are formed. They're formed because they are houses of protection for our people. And if we can build dry weather house organization anymore moving forward, but we'll have to educate new administrators so that they know that there's not a chip on them shoulder or a badge of attainment to be one in leadership, but one of great service and servant to continue the legacy of building resilience for our people in a clear-eyed way. And I think our narratives have to help in that regard, and our storytelling has to help in that. One will come in with a misconception of what it means to be an administrator, and by the time we put them through the documentaries and the evidence of what happens when we are unprepared, then it's a totally different person that leads that that room, having seen why we are demonstrators, that they don't know that they need to carry on the legacy of resilience on behalf of give thanks.
Give thanks. And there you have it, family. This is just the beginning, as I said, of our Hurricane Melissa recovery, relief, rebuild, rise initiative. We'll be bringing a myriad of voices on the platform to talk about the hurricane. Bongo James is just the first, and I chose Bongo James because of the work that he's been doing on the ground in terms of calling for mapping, spending his own money, liaisoning with other Rastafari entities, going out there, doing the work, the spirit of love that the brethren is exemplified has to be highlighted. And there are many others doing work. You know, the Rastafari community, you know what I mean? So we want to emphasize that. And we're going to have some of those workers on the platform. We have a busy schedule. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we have a special live broadcast with one of our Pan-African elders, Baba Wakesa. He has a conflict resolution system called Warrior Healer Builder. We're going to interview him because right now we're attacking the beast on all fronts. And the petty differences in Rastafari have to stop. So we need ways and means how we can deal with these conflicts that arise. The conflict is part of any relationship. And I mean, it doesn't mean that the work's supposed to stop or we're supposed to stagnate. We need to learn how to work through conflict constructively. And our Pan-African elder, Baba Wakesa, is known throughout the world. He'll be on the platform tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Africa is in the afternoon, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be powerful. We have our brethren from South Africa on Sunday. Next special broadcast, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. We're going to South Africa. We're going to continue to look at this African interpretation of Rastafari, the evolution of Rastafari in Africa. Africans are rejecting the Judeo-Christian interpretation, and they are bringing their own indigenous cultures in terms of how they relate to the divinity of His Majesty. So we want to learn more, because as we return home, we're going to encounter, Field Marshal Toto had a very good point. If you haven't seen that clip, I just posted it yesterday. He said, if every knee shall bow and every tongue confess, it does mean every tongue is not going to be a Christian. Every tongue is not going to be a Hebrew. You know what I mean? Every type of faith is going to acknowledge the power and the might of the Holy Trinity. So, that's going to look different. And if you've ever been to Africa, Nigeria, as the brethren said, probably have over 300 languages in Nigeria alone. Ethiopia, same thing, you know what I mean? So all of these places are very diverse, a whole heap of different faiths and religions. So we're going to start hearing more African voices here on Rastafari Media. We're not just talking to ourselves in the diaspora. We are serious about repatriation. We're going to drop episode 2 of Road to Heaven on Earth on Saturday. Stay tuned for that as well. A series about I trip to Ghana to 3 different events that were surrounding food sovereignty, Black food sovereignty, and Rastafari food sovereignty, ITAL standard. We're highlighting that full journey. There's so much here on the channel. Join us. Join the Patreon. The time of talking has ended. The time of talk and work has started. This is the Lion Talk time, where we talk, we work, we showcase, we highlight. So join our Patreon. We want to start our grant program this month. As soon as we hit 50 people in our Patreon, we're at 45 now. We need 5 more to join. We're going to start giving micro grants to workers and we're gonna vote every month in the Patreon. We're gonna elect someone, and they're going to get a small monetary contribution, and they'll get an interview as well to highlight their work. And we're gonna start this culture of giving amongst each other. I told the item my vision. I want every Wednesday when I have a guest and we have 50,000 people who can just spend $10 with that guest. I want the guest to leave with $500,000 US in their pocket every Wednesday. We can do that. We have the power as the Lion Pride, but we have to invest and break away from the fear. You know what I mean? $10, $40 a month, we can change the face of the earth by aggregating our capital. But we have to work together, collective security for surety. Help I to fulfill this vision. Help I to channel and let us go to Mount Zion together. So I give thanks for all of these things, and you know what we say. The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is what? It's the Lion Voice.
This is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the Lion's Voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the Lion's Voice.
This is Mama Thea of Asli Pure, and when I want to hear the story from the lion and the lioness, I listen to Lion Voice with Rasquasi Bonsu.
Greetings, this is Shiloh. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the Lion's Voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Shiloh said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the Lion's Voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the Lion's Voice.
Yes, Jah people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I will say, hear the Lion Voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the Lion's Voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the Lion's Voice, Rastafari.
Alright, listen to me now, people. The lion roar, no dog bark. See? The Lion's Voice with Kwasi Bansu. Time right now for the lion to tell his story. See? Listen up.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jah soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's Voice. Now put it, I Jalifa said that.
Yeah, now the time has come for the lion to tell his own story. Yeah, the one them called Celestial I represent for the mighty Lion Voice. And this a shook up your planet tectonic. As me sip up my roots and tectonic. And you can't make me jump nor get panic. Have the engine a run like mechanic. Room.
I will never stop, hail the Most High. And I will never stop, call Rastafari. Bless Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.